Could you please talk more about the one chance?
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand what it exactly mean, one chance.
Okay. So the question was about this one chance. Actually, I thought you would ask about one mind, because that seems to be the trickier issue. When we realize our true nature, it gives us one big chance. Because we don't have that many. Of course, we have always opportunities later and later and later. But now, as we are, humanity is living in a very accelerated culture. Have you seen that your sense of time has changed? That means not just that we are getting older, it means that events around us and also inside us are getting faster and faster and faster. For instance, if you watch an old movie, how many cuts did you have in 90 minutes? Maybe 1/3, 1/4 of a current modern movie where the cuts are much more frequent. Okay? So the movies are getting faster. We have faster cars. We have faster thinking. We have faster consequences. 300 years ago, it took 3, 4, 5 years to prepare for a war. Now, in 2 months, everything is ready. Standing by for a major assault, which was unthinkable before. So, this one chance, of course, does not mean that we don't have another. But at this point in our human history, we have one big chance now to change things, beginning with ourselves, before it becomes a lot more difficult. If we wait a few more years, a decade, 2 decades, it will be supremely difficult to change things. I do not believe that humanity can reach a point of no return, because it's true with trains, it's true with airplanes, etc. But we can reach a state of affairs on this planet from which it's much harder to come back to normalcy as we know it. Okay? So this one chance is right here, right now. Always. But if we wait too long and we do not act clearly and correctly, we are losing this one chance which we have in these days, in these weeks, in these months. Because in 3-4 years, the whole face of this earth can become very different. Humanly, naturally, in terms of climate, drinking water, food. So that's why I would like to emphasize that this is the time. You know how long relevant people, scientists, politicians, etc., have known about the devastating effects of climate change? Guess. I tell you, 35 years. The first assessment was made in 1972. Moreover, that was just in the United States. And then it was, of course, disseminated in the West. By 1972, based on measurements starting in 1958, we already knew that the CO2 level in the atmosphere is rising like that, and it doesn't stop. 1972, we knew this. In 1991, we already understood how devastating it is, yet we still didn't do much. And if you watch relevant, movies and relevant books that you would read, you can see that humanity has not done anything. So, this is our chance to really do something and find out ways to restore our normalcy in terms of nature and life. Because if we cross a certain boundary, which nobody knows where it is actually, and when it, comes, we may have an extremely difficult job to get our food, water, medicine, transportation. And it all comes from this consciousness. All of it. That's why if we return to this original one mind, we can use this one chance really well. Then it appears before us. If not, we are lost in our ideas, opinions, interests, agendas, details. Instead of one big thing, we see only the details, and we start to be over-precise, over measurements and opinions, etc., instead of doing it. That's why. It's one chance. Okay? More questions? Yeah.
I don't know exactly the way. What's the way to more strengthen our mind?
Return to don't know. Return to no thinking. When you return to no thinking, you and this world become one. Then big strength appears. You know, the seeker, human being, looking for something, like trying to have this wire, and you're looking for the wall socket. Where is it? Where is it? Ah, it's there. So you plug in, and then big strength can appear. Okay? So when you and this universe become one, because you went beyond thinking, then original true strength appears. Okay? It's here. Bodily speaking, it's here. Okay? That's why we focus on the Tantien. Because here we have speech, here we have emotions, here we have a lot of thinking, etc. But here, only this direct, no-thinking connection to the universe. That's why this practice is so important. Okay? And then the strength of mind can stay, it can be sustained, if you don't start to identify with your thoughts again, you don't make your new pink cloud again, because if you do, you disconnect. You tear it out of the wall, and then, oh, I'm just now on battery power. Sometimes, in fact, I heard our great teacher Zen Master Sung San say to a student, after a retreat, you know, there was traveling season, and he said to the student, you have Dharma energy for 3 weeks. That's it. So your battery power lasts only 3 weeks. After that, your karmic tendencies take over, and if you don't plug yourself again into the universe and become one, then your karma can overrule you. Okay? It's very simple. Just try some practice and you will see. Okay? And when life becomes really shaky and your emotions and your thoughts start to really move you, you know it's not clear. You know you follow some illusion. But for you, as a human, it seems strikingly real. This person wanted to step on my foot on bus number 151. It was intentional. Okay? Things like that. You know? Magnify it, put it in your life situation. Okay? So that's why this practicing mind, most important. Then true strength appears. And combined with this strength, there is always wisdom and there's always compassion. These three, very, very important. Okay? So if you lose any of these three, not just strength, your wisdom is clouded, your compassion is depleted, and your strength is just gone, then you know more practicing necessary. But the real practitioner does not wait until this happens. You know? Like these really good car drivers who really take care of their cars, regularly they take them to car center. Okay? Because if not, oil runs out, water runs out, the brakes don't, then steering becomes difficult. The car starts to shake, you know, suspensions are not right. So then, you know, regular maintenance necessary. So with the mind, it's the same, even more so, because this consciousness is a lot more complicated than anything you see in our material culture, including the super, super, super highest computer. Okay? So we need a real maintenance. So think about practice as such clear human mental maintenance. And if you do that, you do yourself a big favor, as well as to other human beings, because you won't depend on them. You won't cry, "Mommy, Daddy," and you adults do that all the time. They're demanding from other people instead of being able to give or to endure. Okay? It's up to us. So do yourself a favor on a daily basis. Plug yourself back into the universe, please. Okay? More questions? 1 and 2.
Sunim, how can we stop bad habits despite of my recognition that's not the way I hope for? How can we?
Bad habits are your true teachers. And when you had enough teaching, you can stop that. Before you had enough, you cannot stop that. You think, it's wonderful, I feel great. Then you get exhausted, you get weird states of mind, etc. And then you realize, my habit, which I thought of as the most wonderful pastime with my friends, is actually killing me. And then you say, I want to stop. I really want to stop. So then, first of all, maybe you have to change your environment, but most of all, you have to change your mind. At first, most likely, outside conditions must change. In everyday life, without anything special, we call that chulga, when you leave home. But in this sense, a kind of bad habit chulga is necessary. You walk out of it. Somebody is addicted to alcohol, don't go to pubs anymore. Addicted to games, don't go to game room anymore. Somebody is having more than 400 SMS per day. Telephone addiction. Hey, there are camps here in Korea to treat these kids. Okay? Drop your telephone. Okay? Somebody is addicted to email, unplug yourself. Cut the cable, turn off your wireless antenna. So change your environment. Because there seems to be a hole in your consciousness through which this typical phenomena or sensory perception controls you. And because of that you suffer. Not only that, you make others suffer around you. Okay? So change the environment. Next, look inside. Where did it come from? That's when, after chulga, the novice starts to really, really work hard. Both for the temple and inside. Lots of bowing, lots of chanting, not so much sitting yet. It's special if novice monk can go into sonpang and right away sit. There are some, but most of them, no. And then, when you become more clear, then you can become independent. You become independent of that habit. So when normally monks and nuns become totally independent of their karma because they cleared most of it, they become bhikkhus or bhikkhunis. That means they can start studying on their own. They do not depend on their unsa sunim anymore. They always go back at least once or twice a year. Some of them even stay in the same temple longer. Okay? But you become independent. In this case, if you become independent, you can leave the place where your habits are corrected. Some institutions, camps, hospitals, special homes. Because that was your monastery. Some of you may remember we talked about various institutions which people visit or are made to visit because of their habits. And we found out that, there are many, many levels. One can be the monastery. Next can be the hospital. The lowest can be jail. Okay? In between there are many more. Schools, theaters, sports clubs, whatever. Various other types of institutions. But the job of all these institutions is that you would finally wake up to your habit and go beyond it. Lose it. And then you become independent. And eventually, you can come back to the same area trying to help other people getting out of their habits. And there is a very interesting series which can help you illustrate that. And it's the 10 ox herding pictures. If you go around Korea, In many temples you can see the 10 ox herding pictures. And I will not list all of them, but it begins with a really interesting situation that you're looking for the bull or the ox. The ox is the symbol of your true self, your Buddha nature. And you as a human being, you look. Okay? I attempt to make a sequence. Maybe it will be 9, maybe it will be 11, who knows? Okay? So 1 is looking. So you can see a natural path somewhere in the mountains, and an apprentice, a young person, is looking. Just looking. That's when you have this first question: where does my habit come from? Why does it control me? Where does my human karma come from? Why does it control me? Next, finding the traces. Usually it's signified as these footprints. Finally, the young seeker finds the footprints. With habits it's even easier. Sometimes you find yourself lying on the ground in the middle of, the main street, one of the main streets in Seoul, and when you wake up, oops, that's the footprint of my karma. Or you find yourself totally wasted after 3 days of sleep, that's the footprint of your karma. Okay? Then the next picture when you see the ox first, it's brown. It's normal cow color. Okay? But later on, as the kind of struggle with your karma intensifies, it goes through an interesting transformation. It becomes white, but don't let's go too far. Usually, you see it as brown, and most of the time you see it from the back, the rear 2 legs, and the butt of the ox, and maybe just half of the body. So you see the brown, ox, and also from the back. All right? That means you see the rough stuff first. You see the worst part of your karma first, because that's what's shouting the biggest. In your question's case, you see the worst of your habits first. In a way, it's not bad if some karma cracks your ego. But if it cracks too bad, then you break. If it doesn't crack, then you think you're perfect. Both extremes are problematic, because you cannot evolve as a human being, either because you are incapable, broken, or you think that you're perfect and that freezes you totally. Okay? So the fourth is tying the ox, and also in some cases the struggle begins on the fourth picture also. So you struggle with the ox, and actually tying the ox, not really just putting the rope around the neck and starting this tug over. So which habit is stronger? Your clarity, that you actually start to realize what's happening, or your habit? So do you go to the game room or do you go home? Do you start sending the 420th SMS, or is it enough? Okay? And in the fifth case, I think it's already getting white and tied. So let's put this, just having the rope around. We rope the ox, put the rope around its neck, and struggling, and then it becomes white. You get some wisdom, and usually the head starts to become white, and then the rest of the body. And then soon it's tied. That means you do not move. It's very important because when you tie the ox, there is a firm, clear stake in the ground. And that's your unmoving mind. Your karma can do anything. This stake does not come out of the ground. Okay? It's a very important point. So once you have some internal strength, something solid inside, you're not going anywhere else than where you really want to. Your habits cannot pull you. But first, you have to realize, oh, what am I doing? And then you say, oops, I have some really heavy karma. And then you say, okay, this is not going to go on like this. And you try to push and pull. Here, it's firmly tied. But it's only 50%. Okay? So when it's so firmly tied, then number 6, ox and man sitting. Now this is very interesting. The ox and the man are sitting and the rope is loose. You don't have to hold the ox tight anymore because you understood something. You have some wisdom. In fact, at this point, the ox is completely white. You know, in number 5, it can still be, some legs are still brown, not 100%. But this, in this case, is 100% white, which means you understood your karma. You fully attained and understood your karma. Okay? And next picture is really truly interesting because it's an empty circle. So, all duality disappears. Here it's harmonious duality. Before that it was total disharmony. And here, the drop of water returns to the ocean, the I becomes one with the universe and disappears. So that's our substance. That's our one mind. The next 8 is also no man, no ox, only the mountainside, or a lake plus the mountainside, nature. In other words, the mind starts to reflect. Here, at this point, I just put here in parentheses, attain. Here, it reflects. And number 9 is very interesting, because the ox and the man again reappear, and the rope either disappeared or it's hanging loose from the neck. And the man is playing a flute. So that's when you can start to use your karma. So here this is substance, here this is truth, and here this is function. But you no longer have to grab the rope, have this tug of war with yourself, with your karma. You attained wisdom, you attained substance, you attained truth, and then the function is here with very slight, very subtle touches, which is music. Music is the most subtle thing here in terms of sensory perceptions. And one of the most powerful things here also. So here, this is music. It's music. He doesn't have to hit the ox. He doesn't have to pull the ox. Just plays the flute and the ox goes wherever it's necessary. And ox and man are one. Okay? Completely in harmony. Okay? And then the 10th is a very interesting stage, because you see that the man enters the marketplace and his student appears. So the man just gets off the ox disappears, and he's there, and the student is listening to the teaching. So here, transmission, teacher and student. So teacher and student. And what does a good teacher teach? Find the ox. So again, picture one. The good student is not attached to the master, but starts the journey and starts to look for the ox. Okay? So it's not just about habits. I mean, not just about dangerous or harmful habits, passions, addictions, etc. It's generally about human karma. Look around those temples. I think now these pictures have a lot more meaning to you. So use them. We have wonderful Buddhist culture here. Fantastic tradition. So use it. Look around the ox herding pictures. Look at 1 to 10. Okay? And see what you're doing. See how deeply you understand that. See what it brings about in your consciousness. And then it's really useful. Then those monks, nuns, builders, painters, they did not practice and work for vain. Because they all practiced and did their jobs for you, for us. Next question. You forgot or not?
No.
Great, you didn't forget. Very good.
Actually, I have 2 questions.
You need to have a bonus program for that.
I pray sometimes, but it's my understanding that there is no God in Buddhism.
There are many.
I mean, everything is from cause and effect, not from God's will. But I pray. So is that all right that I pray?
You say God exists, mistake. You say God does not exist, also mistake. So, be good friends with the gods.
So,
You see a Shinjungdan? They are very wonderful people.
so
You know, okay?
pray it's okay.
Yes. Just why do you pray?
For myself and
Wrong.
others.
For others, very good. Praying for yourself, not necessary.
But it's not conflict of the cause and effect.
No. Pray for others is the best. Then your I disappears. When you stand in front of an altar and with true faith you chant, you open that gate. You open Jijang Bosa Ram, Kwansan Bosa Ram, Buddha Ram, Shinjung Ram, okay? And they enter the human world and your consciousness enters their realm. Becomes one. So that can help a lot of beings, but never pray for yourself. Pray for something much, much bigger than you. Okay? Yes, these entities also exist by cause and effect. Okay? But they, in their substantial, fundamental nature, they're not different from us. But one has deity karma, the other has human karma, the other has bodhisattva karma, some other being maybe has animal karma. I always quote that the Buddha nature of Mother Teresa and Stalin are the same. But their karma are radically different. Okay? In this way you can understand. So, using your mind to open these realms and bring that energy on earth and make it function, that's wonderful. Why? That's the point. So be very careful with that. Okay? More questions? Let me think of a bonus program. So, please ask.
How can I overcome the fear? I have fear over many things.
Where does your fear come from?
From myself.
What is yourself?
I don't know.
Good. Very good. If you keep this don't know, then all your hindrances will disappear. And if you have no hindrance, you have no fear. Read your Heart Sutra. It's very important. Because the Heart Sutra says that originally, in reality, in the state of transcendental wisdom, you are not your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and thinking. And if you see this clearly, you're Buddha. If you attain that the 5 skandhas are originally empty, the form, feelings, perceptions, impulses, consciousness. In other words, they are all created by our minds, you wake up. And the second part of the sutra then says, no hindrance, therefore no fear. And then, gate gate paragate parasamgate bodhisvaha. Go on the path, go beyond thinking, become Buddha. Literally, it means go through the gate, parasamgate, go through the very gate, become Buddha. Okay? So, if you have fear, you have hindrance. You have hindrance, you have attachment to something. But if you're not attached, you don't identify, you don't have ignorance, then no hindrance, no fear. Okay? So when you have this, look inside. What is it that I'm really afraid of? Okay? What is it? Is this fundamental feeling of difference which threatens me. But if we see that ultimately our substance is the same, then ultimately we are not different. In our appearance, in our forms, we are. But substantially we are not. So there is no reason to be afraid. So we have wonderful examples. Wonderful, and not just religious people. Not just spiritual teachers. Everyday, simple people who demonstrated this clear bodhisattva type of no fear mind. Look around. Look around. They are around. Okay? Then you can just do it. Just help other people. Okay? Good. More questions?
Advice of, let's say, I have a friend who is mostly generally kind to others, and very close friend of him is always not being kind to him, even though this friend A, tries to treat this friend B always, nice and kind. This B is like, without any apparent reason, try to, like, deceive and try to take something from A or something like that. Well, what could, A possibly do for
You must
B?
be friend A, right?
Not exactly.
So, if we get back to the mathematics of friend A and B, one, as you say, has very positive qualities, giving, help, sharing, etc. The other one has, as you say, negative qualities of attrition, anger, conflict, etc. In this case, both of them have something to learn. The first thing which they have to learn, that A equals B and B equals A. This is not what we learn in Europe, this is not what we learn in modern science and mathematics, but this is something that many traditional wisdom schools, they understood. Okay? So our substance is the same. Remember the Mother Teresa and Stalin example. Okay? Our substance is the same, but our appearance can be A or B. Good in terms of moral and ethical values, and bad in terms of moral and ethical values. So in this case, they have something to learn. First of all, here we need perseverance, courage, not moving mind, losing naivete, not being provoked, and ultimately attain this wisdom, compassion, and strength. If you can be provoked, you're not wise. If you are naive, you really have no strength. Okay? And if you're irritable, you have no compassion. So, seemingly a positive person giving share looks like some essential qualities are missing. And here, look at B, who is always this metallic, immoving, solid, selfish. But this guy doesn't move. This guy is bulletproof. This guy can be truly successful in many kind of, grabbing areas of the world. And I don't want to name those fields of life where these guys are successful. And your high moral values are trodden upon and down on the ground and just ashes and dust. Now, if A starts to practice, then becomes stronger, clearer, and starts to have compassion instead of this hidden hatred. Because behind a moralistic attitude, there's always some really strong hatred. Look closely. Then this guy, with its negativity, with its exclusivity, with its ego, with its everything, starts to realize that there is something which still irritates me and I want to kill. No matter how cool I think I am, or successful, or without conflict. It's him. He is the one who irritates me. So then it starts to look into it, because this guy thinks he's perfect. Totally, absolutely perfect. So then something's missing. I still want to kill him. So if they have a way to do some together action with each other without sparking a conflict all the time, then what happens is that they start to interact. They start to interact. They start to be in the same time and in the same space. Now, what was the problem with the current human issues? That we still do not believe that we share the same planet. You see? So, this is my land. This is my... Of course, we have borders. We respect national sovereignty. But this planet is ours. It's not somebody's planet. It's ours as 6.6 billion human beings. Otherwise, how would we take responsibility for it? So, when they start to interact, then they realize we are interdependent upon each other. We exist relative to each other. If I think I'm good, that person is bad. If I think I'm bad, that person becomes good. So if we start, seeing these things as relative and interconnected, then we will not think that these things are absolute, they exist forever, they are independent or isolated. So this is the key. And then they can start some really true realization if they stay together, etc., and do more things together. Actually, these qualities have no borders. So sometimes this person gets upset, and sometimes this guy has a generous moment. Okay? So these phenomena, these attributes, they really interpenetrate. And sometimes you're ready to take, the other person's point of view. So then this boundary begins to disappear. Moreover, this stiff sense of I, my, me also begins to disappear. And then you have a clear circle, which is a common experience. It's a common experience. Every single, one of them is taking part in it. Now we have only 2 poles, but imagine a lot more individuals taking part in this. So we have a lot of together action types on this planet. But which one brings us to awakening to these facts? They are a lot more efficient in terms of the evolution and survival of the human race and some other types of together action which reinforce the separation. Okay? So, when you enter a place, when you join a company, you sense the spirit of that company, the atmosphere of that place. And that tells you a lot about the direction of those individuals and what kind of karma that place has. Okay? So, treasure your friend, because he is your teacher. And try to treat his qualities with true respect when they are useful. And look at your own faults when it's clear that you make a mistake. So originally these qualities are not good and not bad, but their combination sparks a lot of conflict. If we can go beyond these hindrances, then we can make a true difference. And if you remember the Zen circle, first the darkness means I'm better than you and you will always be inferior to me. Then there's some mutual understanding, then there's some hopefully mutual attainment, and then there is change. There's change. We can change our relationships. But first we have to change ourselves. We have to attain our true self. Without that, that's impossible. Or it remains partial. Just a little bit. And then, at 360, we can truly help this world just the way we are. Okay? So that's actually the kind of interpersonal magic of practice. And I did not say that it was easy. You probably never heard I said it was easy. But it's possible. I also didn't say that it works in the short run, because it works only in the long run. The larger the human group is, the longer it takes. Okay? And sometimes we go back to square one. After a couple of decades or a few centuries, it's just, man, we are just back in the same old problem. Okay? But if we just go through it again and again and again, then we have a chance to actually go beyond it one day. There are wonderful examples of it. Maybe even in your own family, maybe even in yourself. But if you look at larger groups and many, many places on this earth, there are some sure signs that humans are actually capable of changing. More questions? I'm sorry. This is the English library of the Holy Studies of Buddhism. Please try to ask in English. If it doesn't work, then in simple and slow Korean. So, English, please.
You said that don't pray for myself. 관세음보살 아발키테스바라. I pray to 관세음보살. 관세음보살 help me from the suffering, and the good thing I want. 관세음보살 help me get good thing.
Okay.
How I pray to 관세음보살.
After you got those good things, after 관세음보살 helped you get out of suffering, what do you do with that?
I cannot understand.
After 관세음보살 helped you, what do you do with that help? Keep it for yourself?
I want more happy life.
Only you? Only for yourself?
I and my family, my
Great.
friend.
So already there are more people in the 관세음보살 realm, okay? Already you are using 관세음보살's help, not just for yourself, but for your family. So I really hope that this can be an example for everybody who tries some practice. Because whether with the help of bodhisattvas or through your own effort, it's possible to offer all these merits, to offer the benefits of practicing to other people. Why do we do that? Why is it good to do that? Because it multiplies. That's the real chain reaction we want. Not some nuclear fission in a really, really nasty warhead. That's the real chain reaction we want. So one clear mind affects others, and they also can become clear if they take up their own effort and do it. And likewise, it can spread naturally without anything special, just like the compassionate energy that you have received. And if we all do that naturally, in our own way, with our own lives, then we have a chance. Because we attain one mind, then we really have this one chance. So I hope that all of us who have gathered today, and hopefully will gather in the future, attain our true selves, share all these benefits that we can gather thereby, and save all beings and save this world from suffering. Thank you very much.